delighted to be here today to sort of kick off our discussion with our 61st mayor. My conversations with him started about maybe a little over 8.5 years ago. I was sitting in my law office, minding my business, and the phone rings, and it's this guy named Andre. Who's Andre? And I vaguely was aware that there was somebody boldly challenging a third-term city council member, but I hadn't paid a lot of attention. And then he says the magic words, "Shirley Franklin told me to call you." Well, what do? You talk to him. And we had a delightful conversation about policy and governance that really has continued unabated since then. I learned he was an Atlanta native, a graduate of Georgia Tech, which is a daughter, a granddaughter, and a niece of tech graduates. I thought, well, okay, that's a good box to check. But not only that, he went ahead and got a master's in public administration from Georgia State, and has done what a lot of people who pursued elective office had not done, which he had actually worked in the private sector, worked in the public sector, worked as an engineer, was an entrepreneur, was a college administrator, and more recently has been involved in the technology world, which we all know is sort of the industry of the future here in Atlanta. And through that, he had built connections, built resources, and focused on the kinds of issues that made it very clear to him what he wanted to focus on as a council member. And so in his 8 years on the council, he's not just, had a press conference or passed a resolution or something, but he really, when he saw issues, whether it was affordable housing or transportation or opportunities for youth, he actually tried to get something done. He pulled people together and thought leaders together and practitioners together and worked on the issues till he found something that would actually work. And that's absolutely what I expect him to do as mayor. There were a lot of discussion during the election last fall, but there were two clear themes. One was enough is enough, whether it's crime or inadequate city services or corruption, and then hit the ground running. And that is absolutely what he has done. If I ask for a show of hands of the people who have not seen him since the election, I imagine it'll be a very small group, because he immediately put together a brain trust of people to figure out what needed to get done, where are the huge problems, where are the quick wins, where are the longer-term problems, and then, as Catherine mentioned, put together the transition policy team, which I was honored to co-chair with Howard Franklin, and a lot of Rotarians served on that. Go to the website and look at all the list of Rotarians who were chairs and members of that task force, and gave us open-ended. I mean, we even asked, are there things you don't want us to say or don't want us to do? And it was open-ended. He said, no, I want to hear what the subcommittees come up with. So we delivered our report a week ago today. There was a lot of frenzy over Passover and Easter weekend, I can tell you that. But we had the 4 subject areas of education and youth, safe streets, neighborhood empowerment, and ethics and procurement integrity. And so this is really his first public appearance of any note since the report has been released. So we have a good opportunity to talk about, okay, what's next after that first 100 days? And so I know you all will join me in looking forward to and welcoming our 61st mayor, Andre Dickens.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Hi, Rotary. It's good to see all of y'all. Madam President Kelly and all the members of this august body of the Rotary Club of Atlanta, I greet you this afternoon, and I thank you for allowing me to be here. The only time I've been here was a year ago, a little less than a year ago. I was the guest of John Yates, and I sat back there. This was while I was running for office. And I was at 4% in the polls, and John Yates brought me here. So I thank you, John, for that courage. At that time, I was just rotisserie and not really Rotary. But you're courageous, and it worked out for us. So I'm thankful. Thank you for that invocation, Anna Roach, for that beautiful invocation to get us started here today. And I'd like to thank Sharon Gay, a friend of mine, for that introduction and for serving as a co-chair of my transition team along with Howard Franklin here. There were 40 strong type A individuals that all work together on this team. And like she said, a number of you are here today serving in this Rotary. And I imagine that my friend Sharon and my friend Howard had their work cut out for them as co-chairs, given this great group of individuals. I appreciate all the hard work that the whole team, the entire team, put together. And they just handed it to me last week. We're still going through all of it, but it is, it is definitely robust and significant. And I continue to want to work together with this incredibly diverse team of leaders and their willingness to, work together across economic, faith, geographic lines, educational, and even professional lines to bring those folks together to really address the ways that we will make this city even better. Over the next month or so, I've committed to a thorough review of all of those recommendations, and I'm vetting them based on how they align with my mission and my vision for this city and how they'll help us keep moving Atlanta forward. That's the mantra. As you know, the team worked in 4 subgroups. One was safe streets, education and youth, neighborhood empowerment, and of course, ethics and procurement. None of these groups worked in a vacuum. They brought in hundreds of subject matter experts, business leaders, and citizens from all around the region. Additionally, they consulted with other municipalities in the area. The number one recommendation was from the Safe Streets team, and that is to reduce crime, plain and simple. That's the number one recommendation, is to reduce crime. Of course, to that end, I've attended every roll call in every police zone on every shift and looked at each officer in their eyes and given my commitment to them as we go out to try to make sure that the streets of Atlanta are safe. And to that end, we've also started a national search for a new police chief in this city. And so we're off to the races on going to find that new individual who will lead this, the nation's best police force in my mind. We're continuing to shore up our APD ranks with new recruits on our goal of getting 250 new officers in this year, and we're well on our way. We've had recruitment events across the city, including the first ever at Lenox Square Mall, and that was a success. And our 250 officers, we will hit that number by the end of the year. Our Light Up the Night campaign continues. That's the Street Lights campaign, where we're going to have 10,000 lights. You ought to see a brighter city, as we have already reached 4,000 of the 10,000 in these first 4 months. So we're well on our way, moving very quickly with Georgia Power, our partner. Our repeat offender tracking unit, we started that because most of the crime is taking place from individuals who have decided to be career criminals. And we're going to make sure that their career is no longer on the streets of Atlanta. And so we started this repeat offender tracking unit that works with other agencies from Fulton County, the DA, the sheriff, the GBI, FBI, and of course APD. This is a multi-jurisdictional operation because criminals really don't always look at a boundary line. They just cross where they think the opportunity is. My administration remains laser focused on safety in all of our communities. And even to that end, we've done things for the youth like midnight basketball and other opportunities for us to have a pathway to opportunity for youth. Another priority for us, again, is the city's summer youth employment program. We've got so many young people around this city who want to work and earn money. We don't want them selling water on our corner, but we do want them to be out there working because they want to go to Six Flags. They want to go to the movies. So how do they make money? They're going to make money from y'all this summer in our summer youth employment program. They're going to make money at the City of Atlanta, working in our Parks and Recs department, and all of our departments are going to hire interns. But we also know that corporate and philanthropic partners are going to really help us with that by hiring a team for 6 to 8 weeks and paying them. They want to be paid so they can have activities that they can do. And 3,000 is ambitious, I know. But we're going to meet that. All of our goals are ambitious. We're not setting minor goals out here because we have major problems, and you have to take it straight ahead. 3,000 individuals will be hired as teens in our city this summer, and I can count on you for that, I'm sure. We are also not just starting with teens, though. It's important to note that we know our issues and our development of youth must start even earlier, in the ages of 0 to 3. We want to give our babies from infancy the head start that studies show that they need to thrive. And that's why we're making the city's largest ever investment in early childhood education. We've committed $5 million, and we've asked APS and the philanthropic community to match that, to get to an overall commitment of $20 million to help young people from the age 0 to 3. And this is how we get our future taken care of from the beginning. And so this is a huge historic investment that this administration is making. We've established a nightlife division, first ever of its kind, and we have a nightlife manager, Michael Paul. A little over a week ago, we hosted the city's first training day workshop. This will become a quarterly event to support the thriving nightlife. We do have a need for nightlife in Atlanta, our conventions and our sports, and also just us. We like nightlife, but we want to make sure that it's safe, and so we've been doing that. The training day was built specifically to train industry leaders on what it takes to de-escalate issues inside of nightlife establishments, to also practice safety, and to make sure that we have a clear safety plan, and to let them know that they're responsible for what's inside of their establishment, but also all around their perimeter. Don't just throw it on me to maintain the streets in front of your establishment. You're responsible as well, or else we deal with their permitting issues the right way to make sure they get in line. Lastly, our work continues to address the city's critical lack of affordable housing. We've committed to 20,000 new or preserved units over the next 8 years. Again, we make big goals and we're going to hit them. And we have identified partners in the faith community who will help us to be able to play an important role and utilize their underutilized land to be able to develop affordable housing on faith-based properties. Meanwhile, Invest Atlanta has continued to help secure financing to support the development of additional affordable housing. And we're working diligently with Atlanta Housing, all that unused land. Over the next 8 years, you're going to see things go in motion. We're moving forward with our Affordable Housing Strike Force, a group that will, among other things, expedite the housing development process. And last but not least, we're doing all we can to improve basic city services. Basic city services. Things that you should depend on, we've made sure that you can depend on them. From the very first month that I took office, you now have all 3 services for your sanitation working. Your garbage, your recycling, and your yard waste are being picked up. We implemented Operation Clean Sweep, where we're going out, cleaning up the streets that continue to get litter each and every day. We're working on that, and we've set up a Operation Clean Sweep, and the first order of that was for the cabinet to go out there and clean up the streets of Atlanta on the weekend. And last but not least, we got the Pothole Posse back. So you get Pothole Posse is back, and we are filling potholes again at a rate of 20 to 30 potholes a day at a minimum, and yours truly filled a pothole. It's good work. Y'all ought to do it from time to time. It'll change your life and make you really be a good citizen of Atlanta when you know how to fill a pothole or 10. That's just a little bit of what we've been doing over the last 100 days, and now I'm excited to work with my friend here, Sharon Gay, to be able to have this fireside chat. So let's talk. Thanks. You gotta flip it up.
Every one of them is a little bit different. I can't see whether Chris Womack is here today, but if he is, he probably appreciates that the pothole in front of the Georgia Power entrance got filled.
Yeah.
He probably didn't do it himself, but I'm sure he's grateful. I drive that route every day. Well, let's pick up where you left off about city services. One of the things, and I really do encourage everybody to go to atlantagA.gov and read the transition report. It's meaty. You might not be able to do it all in one sitting, but you can at least start with the executive summary. And one of the things that we ended up putting in the executive summary, because there were common themes that kept echoing through the committees, through the various subcommittees, regardless of how different their underlying issues were. And one of them was this issue about delivering city services more effectively. And, I don't have to tell you what all the complaints were, and everybody in this room probably has a list, but not just delivering the basic services effectively, but making the government more nimble to accomplish all these big ideas and make it a 21st century operation. Is that a people problem, a technology problem, a management problem? Talk to us a little bit about what you've seen so far and what you think the next steps are.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's all three, people, processes, and technology all together. But I'd be honest to say that first it was a people problem. And what I mean by that is not a person problem, but a people problem. Meaning overall in the pandemic and just the way things were going, individuals had not really been in the posture of, delivering at operational excellence. I'm an engineer, so everything I do, I like to optimize the system and see where the leaks are, where the problems are. And so it's not a person. It wasn't a person. I couldn't go to one person in each department and say, your fault. But I could say that there was a people issue that had occurred possibly because of the pandemic and work from home practices and those things. So immediately we opened back up City Hall based on the guidance of the CDC, who is a part of the city of Atlanta now. So I got good direct information from Dr. Del Rio and others. And we said, when can we open back up and how can we open back up? And we did so immediately and called all employees back to work on a progressive schedule to get them back and to be able to make sure that they understood and that I was high energy, and I talked to everybody and said, my currency is trust and energy. I operate off of trust. You do what you say, I'm going to do what I say, but I'm going to outwork everybody in this whole city. So that means I'm going to find out if you're working just as hard, and it's going to be clear. And so it was a people issue. So overall, you ultimately have to set the standard that we're doing this work. Your paycheck is for the people and businesses and visitors of the city of Atlanta. And they actually knew that. They just needed to make sure that they heard it over and over again. And then you make sure that your down reports from the commissioners down to the deputy commissioners, directors, managers, all the way to the leads and supervisors all get that. So 8,500 employees now are acting or working somewhere near 8,000 to 8,500 employees, which is an optimized system. Next is the processes. The processes are important. There's still some challenges. Processes take a little bit more time to correct, but we're doing so. We have a lot of consultants that have been offering us pro bono support, from Ernst & Young to Deloitte to Accenture. They've been helping us in some of these places that we've said, if we could fix this, if we could optimize this and improve some of these delays that occur, things will get better. So like our HOPWA, Housing Opportunities for People with AIDS, we were back. We hadn't paid some bills from 2018. From 2018, and certain companies, certain providers closed their doors. I don't know if it was directly because of the city of Atlanta, but if you were hundreds of thousands of dollars in arrears expecting the city payment, then you had a hard time. Well, now we've caught up. We've paid all 2018, 2019. We're halfway through to 2020. We've got a goal of by June 30th being caught all the way up to 2021. And so these were just processes and people really attacking an issue like that. And the same thing with Operation Clean Sweep was, before we even talk about we want to clean up our city, we clean up our city. And so we put Operation Clean Sweep together. This was all while we were having trouble with, individual, there was a worker shortage due to COVID outages and other things. But we got in there and said, well, the cabinet can do it. The cabinet can clean up. It's about 40 of us that are senior level executives of this city. We'll get out here and start cleaning up on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So people, processes, and now the technology is the fun part to make sure that we're running as an innovative government is really where I'm getting, where I think that we can shave 3 to 5% off of our budget, on a $700 million plus budget, that's 20-something million dollars. So every time somebody say youth programming or a park or some of these things, I know how we're going to get it. We're going to invest in technology, innovate some of the current systems, and that's where your 20 to 30 million dollars will come to do all the fun stuff that we actually really want to see done. So all of the above.
Check back next week, it'll be finished, right? Well, continuing this theme of the workforce culture, you talked a lot during the campaign about the election being about the soul of Atlanta. And the sort of the overarching themes that came out of the ethics subcommittee were, process-wise, the city's in a pretty good place. We've got a decent ethics code, got an ethics officer, have a board, now have an investigator general, or Inspector General, I should know that, IG. They just need to be funded and allowed to do their work independently without political interference. But the sort of the bigger theme was compliance is just a floor. It's not the ceiling. And nothing will ever change if you don't set the tone of ethics from the top and set a tone of ethical governance, not just compliance. So talk to us a little bit about how you see that unfolding, and you particularly making a difference.
Yeah, well, right off the bat, one of the 4 pillars that we asked people to work on in the transition team was ethics and procurement. If you got 100 days with 40 people to make the decision to do ethics, there's some other sexier things that we could have put a committee together for. Affordable housing, we have a strike force. We have parks. We have the green cabinet, so to speak, is what we call it, the advisory council that we put together. But ethics is so vital for government. The trust had been shaken in Atlanta for so many years, and I know coming in to do all these big goals that I have, you're gonna have to have trust. Because if people don't trust that you're going to hit these goals, that you're going to do it ethically and honestly, then you won't get we can't do this with just government. Everything that we're talking about, you can't hire 3,000 students on an 8,500 staff. I got 8,500 people in the city government, and I'm trying to hire 3,000 students. I can't do that with just city. I have to have the trust built with all of the nonprofits, all of the corporations, everybody. So most of my plans involve corporate support, nonprofits, philanthropy, and so ethics was so vital. Very first day, I got inaugurated on Monday. Tuesday at 9 a.m., cabinet, everybody, the very first speaker was ethics. I said, we're gonna start with an ethics training. So the first day of my administration, we had ethics training for all of the cabinet. And all throughout our administration so far has always been about setting the tone from the top of ethics, of making sure we operate this thing out of trust. And so, I wrote a letter to all the city staff, every single one of them, after, a certain case went to court from two administrations back, not anything from me or not anything from the previous office holder. Some people were indicted and found guilty from way back then. So immediately, and some current folks were named. So immediately we took action on those current folks, and I wrote a letter to every person that's in the city government, as well as our, government partners, our para-government or quasi-government from the Beltline, Invest Atlanta, Atlanta Housing. Everybody that has a Atlanta in their name got a letter from me that set the tone that we're going to operate this government with integrity and the people depend on it. And we are looking at every practice that we have to make sure that it's done the right way. How that relates to not just be something that you do and it's not, how do you gauge it? I'm gonna see an increase in people bidding on all these projects that we have because they're gonna know that it's fair, right? I believe that we're gonna be even more competitive. Our RFPs are gonna have more, opportunities for people to compete. I believe our pricing is gonna go down. I believe our service delivery is gonna go up because it's just gonna be on merit. It's just gonna be work, and that's all we need to do around here is just work. And everything else outside of that is, adding complexity to a system that's already complex, and I just need them to go to work. And so I believe that we're gonna be in a better posture to receive a lot more bidders and a lot more, our procurement is gonna go faster, and I believe the outcomes for the city is gonna be better.
One of the topics that a lot of people thought there was a subcommittee on was infrastructure. And you've already mentioned that there were some things you didn't specifically have a subcommittee on because you already kind of knew where you needed to go. And infrastructure is a good example of that. We've got a T-SPLOST and a bond referendum on the ballot in May. We've got the huge influx of money from the federal government for infrastructure. We've got the More MARTA program. And one of the criticisms has been that the money's been spent too slowly. And back to your point about procurement integrity, maybe there aren't enough bidders, maybe the people don't trust the process. How do you, and you maybe answered a little bit of this, but how do we make sure that we get the projects, pick the right projects and get them done in a way, I think you've said, I want to go not just to groundbreakings, but to ribbon cuttings in my lifetime.
That's important. I don't want to just do groundbreakings and never see the ribbon cutting. I don't want to just talk about the road is going to be better and we never see it, like those, long projects that are 10 years. We need to make sure that we have some projects that have, some short-term, mid-term, and long-term deliverables. But before I fully answer that, I just came back from D.C. from my third trip already as mayor. When I go up there, I say thank you, but I say I want more money. So when I meet with Secretary Buttigieg of Transportation, Secretary Fudge, and all of Secretary Alejandro and everybody of Commerce, I'm going there. I don't go there saying Atlanta's got all this money coming. I don't talk like that. I say thank you for what you're giving to Atlanta, but we need more. We need more. So I actually met with them, and I'm trying to get even more federal money while the spigot is pouring. Let's get it all, because it may not be this way in the future. And the reason why more money is going to be available is because our competitive governments around the country aren't always utilizing all their funds. When you get $10 million and you send back $2 million because you don't know how to spend it, that $2 million doesn't just go into evaporated air. It gets redistributed amongst folks who know how to spend money. So the thing that we have to do around here is make sure that our project list is right, that our estimators that after we select the projects, our estimators have the projects scoped out correctly and financially, and then we go out there and deliver. The delivery part has been tough in the city because of the procurement issues. So one, I'm on a national search for the chief procurement officer of all chief procurement officers in the whole United States. I want the best. And I have Home Depot leading that search. They buy a lot of things at Home Depot. They know how to buy things. The whole store is filled with things that somebody had to purchase. And so the chief procurement officer is going to look like a private sector with a public sector understanding, but we're going to get purchasing done and faster and cheaper so that we can be able to deliver these projects. Take DeKalb Avenue or Cascade Road. These things took 18 months to procure. So from the time that you say we want to buy something to the time you actually start moving dirt, 18 months has gone by. There's a whole nother labor market. There's a whole nother cost structure to the materials. There's a whole, we have a supply chain issues right now. So when you're going to lose some bidders, and you're going to also have to go back to the market to try to get this, they got all these price escalations. So that's why it was really important in our ethics and procurement division, that transition committee, to really get that right. And so, that's what we're doing right now, is really honing in on it, because we're going to the public right now asking for T-SPLOST 2.0, which is a huge amount of, roads, bridges, sidewalks, park infrastructure, and a number of things that we all say we want. And it will, if we don't, this is something that I'm hoping that people read more about, because it's infrastructure money that could be utilized in the city for these projects. And this time, we will price them right and deliver them on time.
Of course, we have to talk about public safety and crime. And you talked a little bit earlier about some of the immediate things you're doing, sort of the immediate kind of try to immediately make a difference, and as well as the summer programs, the youth summer programs. I want to reemphasize that, because we all know crime goes up in the summer and kids are out, maybe not fully supervised, and they're not fully formed adults, and they make bad choices. And so all the programs that this group can help support to engage youth during the summer will be valuable. But there are a couple of bigger themes, and I will say he did ask to have 45 days to read the full report. So, so maybe you haven't read all of this yet. But they're the bigger theme of, one, addressing root causes of crime, which kind of everything from affordable housing to youth employment, all of those address, but also the idea of creating a 21st century police department. While you're shoring up morale and filling the vacancies, but also doing it in a way that creates a 21st century police department. What are sort of your preliminary thoughts about how to do that? And does the Public Safety Center, which Dave Wilkinson, has tirelessly worked on and that you voted for as a council member, how does that fit in?
Yeah, we can talk for hours about what we're going to do in public safety and what we are doing. One of them is to make sure that we have this state-of-the-art, first-class public safety training facility that is coming on board now. We're moving forward, activity is happening. And that is where we're going to train police officers and firefighters to deal with some of the, critical emergencies that happen in major cities, to deal with violent crime. But it's also another way for them to also know how to deal with community-based policing, how to walk the beat and understand how to have a good community-based dynamic so that we can prevent some of these things from happening in the first place. So that's one key element, and the city is making our investment in that as much as the philanthropic community under Dave's work at the Atlanta Police Foundation has already committed. So that's going to be a significant part of it for police and firefighters. But we're also investing in youth services at our At Promise Center. The city of Atlanta is now, we have 3 At Promise Centers. We're going to move to 4, and the 3 that we have, we're now ponying up our money and funding it at the level that we should. So my administration, we're going to pay for the At Promise Center so that they don't have to close or have limited services. And I'm getting a hook, it feels like. Okay. Okay, but let's just say this other thing while we're here, because we're around business folks. I'm adding a business element to the operations of the police force. So there's going to be, police officers don't just complain about money. They also complain about their cars, there are various things that they need to do their job. They're very committed people, training and the timelines associated with these things. We've always promoted sworn individuals, even up to these business processes, and they really aren't best in class at these business and operations like forecasting how many cars we need. So right now we have a car shortage. And so you need to have a business mind. So we're going to put in place something similar to a chief operating officer for the police department. And that'll have a little office to it that will manage these things that are just the actual management of the force. The sworn part is going to be taken care of by, very qualified sworn individuals about tactics and things. But just why are we shortage of cars? Why were our cars not being washed? Now our cars are being washed, by the way. We did that. Amen. But there was issues, and so there's a business operation, a business mentality that I'm putting into the police department because it is a real whole organization of its own, and a lot more. Thank you, President Kelly.
No, thank you. Yeah. Mayor Dickens has agreed to take questions, so I wanted to open it up for that. And we can certainly continue to talk on that same topic if anyone has a further question. Yes, right here in the middle.
Thank you so much, Mayor Dickens. I'm Mary Schmidt-Campbell, president of Spelman College, and I want to thank you for all of your plans for Atlanta. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're thinking about improving particularly K through 12 education? And I ask this question because years ago, when we invited a group of principals to come to Spelman, we said, how can we be helpful to you? And elementary, middle, and high school principals said, teach our students to read. And which suggests that there's something very fundamentally broken in our public schools.
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. That's really a sweet spot for me, K through 12, being that I went through Atlanta Public Schools. And, I believe that Spelman and Morehouse and all of our Georgia State, all have something to say about that and can help with that. That's why Dr. Lisa Heron was part of my transition team as an honorary co-chair, and she really put in a lot of good feedback and information that we're utilizing. A good partnership between the Atlanta Public Schools and the city of Atlanta will make K through 12 education a whole lot better. And we have that. We have that right now. I talk to her at least once a week, and my team, like Courtney English and others, talk to her at some form of their leadership at least once or twice a week. After school programs, what happens after the bell matters? A whole lot. So that is where we pick up. Right? I mean, K through 12, during the day, they provide education. But after the bell rings, transportation to after-school programs, to our rec centers, where there's a lot of things going on, to the At Promise Center, those are places where we're, looking at how we can come fall, be ready to support all of that. Because if they're with you, with the APS till 3, but then they're in an environment that's not healthy from 3 to midnight, and they're out in the streets and all kinds of things. The outcomes aren't as good. But if they can go to a quality after-school program, weekend program, this is why the summer jobs program is important. And then down in our young kids, the mayor's summer reading program is also happening this year. We'll be broadcasting to you guys what the books are and how you can contribute and participate in that reading for the young folks, the elementary school kids. But all in all, everything from 0 to 3 matters to me, early childhood education, all the way up to college. Last thing I'll say is I follow the PAC model, which is a part of early childhood education, promising all Atlanta children can thrive. And part of that is the reason why we're making this trying to get to this $20 million investment is because so many of our workers in the city can't afford childcare. Not at the level to have quality child care. So part of that investment is to make sure we invest in the child care centers that really need repairs and renovations. There's some places that we're keeping our kids that really need a lot of love, some TLC, particularly on the south side of town, to get those up to quality places where you would want to put your child and that they're good. And then second is to give scholarships so that they can pay, these parents can pay for their kids to get that after school and early childhood education. And then last, to give a little bonus to these teachers and paraprofessionals. $1,000 in their pocket will help us show them some love and to keep them on that profession. So we got a plan and we're trying to work it, and it's all about youth and education. The transition team said 2023 needs to be the year of the youth, and I'm going to adopt that. So the year of the youth is going to happen in 2023.
Terrific. Other questions? Let's see. Oh, Bruce.
Hello, Mayor Dickens. I'm Bruce Gunter. I'm Bruce Gunter, and as a citizen of Atlanta, I thank you for a very fast start, and we're really delighted. I'm an affordable housing guy, so I want to follow up on some questions Sharon asked about affordable housing. I know there are new funding programs. You have a terrific team, executive team, Courtney English, others experienced in affordable housing. My question is about Atlanta's most important affordable housing agency, which has been, shall we say, mostly inert for almost a dozen years. And it's got great potential, not just the land, but I'm going to ask about Atlanta housing. Are there some governance and operational issues that you are addressing so that they can get up to speed and put more units out there?
Yeah, Bruce, I'm glad you asked that question. Yeah, Atlanta housing has to build housing. They haven't. And I don't hold back on that. We're friendly about it. They do a phenomenal job of voucher distribution. They really do. The Section 8 program looks different than it did 20 years ago. If they could do anything on that side, is to market how well that's working, that landlords and tenants have responsibilities. You no longer have to fear being a landlord that your property is going to come back to you in a different condition than you left it. I think that there's some serious great work that was done on compliance and moving that forward. So on voucher distribution, they're doing a good job. They really have been helpful, particularly in our people that are unsheltered, the homeless population, getting them into property. So Atlanta Housing has done that, but Atlanta Housing has not built anything in the past 12, 13 years. And that's not satisfying to me. Somewhere over the next 24 hours, your news might tell you some updates that's going to happen. Sorry, Courtney, I probably... Sorry, it just is what it is. But we needed to make some, move more progressively towards work, getting the things done that we promised the people that we're going to get done. You can't get to 20,000. You can't build 20,000 units of housing with the same mentality that you built 0 over the last 12 years. So, making some changes.
One other question. Yes, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. Well, one is to continue to, stay, I guess, giving me feedback. A lot of you are very smart and capable and proven leaders in your various industries and around this region. You know things. You've experienced things. This is my first time being mayor. So I think some of y'all have seen mayors before. So give me guidance, give me support, give it directly or give it to my team. So that's one thing that's helpful. And I'm not being, just coy about that. I mean, seriously, give it to me. Don't call just all the time, but give me some bullets, you know. Think about it, you know, before you go, because all of y'all are smart, but give me some pointed points on some things. And then, like, very specifically, you know what I'm setting out as a vision is around our youth having opportunities. Let's really show the country that we are serious. When we said 3,000 youth employed this summer, find some work for you. $2,500 is about what it's going to take. $12 an hour, 6 weeks, 20 to 30, 40 hours a week, $2,500 thereabouts, $2,500 to $3,000 per student. You guys got it. Hire 1 to 10 to 20 of them. Give them great things to do. If your TikTok isn't TikToking, give it to them to do it. You know, they will help you with your social media, your websites, your PowerPoints, but also your community outreach and those things. That's one thing, youth engagement. I also think that we need you all to continue to evangelize about good things, positive things. The city operates on a news cycle that if it bleeds, it leads. And, you know, every time we turn around, there's a bit of bad news. And they don't say it happened in Metro Atlanta. They just say Atlanta, and you look at it, and it's like, I don't want to give a city's name, but it ain't Atlanta. It's somewhere around Atlanta. But if it's anywhere near Atlanta, they say it's Atlanta. But also, you know, you guys are also a part of the fortress of Atlanta, so be strong in our, you know, saying, hey, I know what was in place, and I know that they have prevented enough things to say they're working on it. I know that was a pothole, and it's now filled. So when I see another pothole, I don't say they're not doing anything, right? I think giving positive reinforcement as we move forward. Congratulate us on, you know, come to ribbon cuttings, come to events. The business community is important for folks to see y'all at stuff. So I think, you know, come share in the good news of the good work that we're doing. You know, you see a police officer or a firefighter, please buy them a cup of coffee, give them a meal, tell them thanks. You also see somebody climbing in a manhole, fixing water damage under the street, tell them thanks too. I know you see 5 of them looking down, there's only one guy in there. They all are important, trust me. No, seriously, it's a hard, give everybody that decided to work for the government, you know, some love, because, you know, they get a lot of negative, and especially, and the last thing I'm saying, Madam President, on that, especially our sanitation workers, they really they had a hard job in COVID trying to go to people's houses, picking up things that they didn't know, you know, and then now we're like, go back out there and do it again, and do it on time, on schedule every week. And these guys are often early in the morning, thankless, but, you know, you can thank them and say the mayor said do so, and they will really appreciate that. So business community, continue to show up in that way, and we got a lot of room on boards and commissions. You know, talk to Mr. English if you want to serve.
I think we've ended on the perfect question. Sharon, Mayor Dickens, I want to assure you that Atlanta Rotary stands ready to serve, and we really are excited about being your partner. Wish you nothing but great success. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Sharon. Have a great week, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you at the Botanical Garden next Monday.